Welcome to the Irresistible You podcast. This is the place to get a dose of empowerment to create the life you crave and deserve. My name is Amy with 2 E's, and I am the founder of Irresistible University. Through my podcast and courses, I teach women just like you how to ditch the body image issues, gain confidence, and lose the emotional weight to look and feel irresistible at any size. If you like the podcast, you're going to love my Irresistible You online course and VIP private podcast. If you want to learn more and snag your seat to enroll, please head over to irresistibleicing.com/course. That link is also in the show notes. Welcome back to the podcast. In today's episode, we are talking about if you were on a weight loss journey and you were just on this weight loss journey to lose pounds, to lose the physical weight, I am here to tell you that you are missing the entire point of what this is all about. Because hear me when I say this. It is not about the fat on your body. That might be the thing that initially kicks you in the butt and gets you going on this weight loss journey, but it's so much deeper than the fat on your body. It's about the emotional weight, the toxic thoughts, the dead end relationships, the toxic relationships, the garbage that you have believed about yourself for years. That is what it's all about. So if you're on a weight loss journey to just lose the physical weight, to lose the pounds only, you are missing the entire point. A lot of times what happens when we go on a weight loss journey, we go on it because we feel disgusted. We don't like the way that we don't like the way we look in the mirror. We don't like the way our clothes are fitting. We want to look better. Of course, we want to feel better. But for most people, those initial times that you're on a weight loss journey, you know what I'm saying? Because you've probably been on multiple journeys throughout your life. Those initial journeys are about, I just want to look better. I just want to be skinny. I just want to fit into my jeans. I just don't want anybody to think I'm fat, right? And so we go into it with these very real concerns, but also they're very surface level. They're very superficial. And what often can happen is once you get on this weight loss journey and you get a little bit of the weight off of you, you start to realize all the invisible emotional weight that you've also been carrying on you for years. And it opens your eyes to see how much bullshit you have been tolerating. First and foremost, from yourself. The amount of BS you have tolerated from yourself because you thought you didn't deserve to have certain things. You thought that you didn't deserve to, feel happy or be worthy of or have beautiful clothes or get your hair done or get a massage because you thought you needed to punish yourself for being fat. This is what the emotional weight is. The emotional weight is the shame that keeps you silent. It is the shame that keeps you stuck. It is the negative voice that you have in your head that is constantly, I call her the inner fat bitch. The inner fat bitch, which is the inner voice that calls you lazy, disgusting, unworthy. The years of trauma that you are carrying around of, quite frankly, fat phobia, being afraid to be fat, being afraid to do experiences or to go places or to do things because you're so worried about a weight limit. You're so worried that someone's going to say something to you about your size. So you play all of these, circumstances or situations in your head so that just in case somebody has something to say to you, you have a comeback planned. Do you realize, seriously, the amount of energy and space that is taking up inside of your brain, that is some heavy ass emotional weight. Emotional weight is keeping other people around in your life who keep you emotionally small. They keep you small because they are uncomfortable with your growth. And I think a lot of times people can see your potential. I'm not talking about your skinny potential. That is not the point here. Your potential and who you would be if you got confident, and who you would be if you lost the emotional weight. People see that and they try to keep you small because it makes them feel inferior and it makes them uncomfortable with your potential future growth. Emotional weight is carrying those toxic, garbage, trash ass relationships that are not doing anything for you. They are your wet blanket of comfort. Emotional weight is the belief that you can't wear this, you can't do that, you can't be this unless you're skinny and thin and wear single digit size clothes and have a flat stomach. So when I tell you, if you're on a weight loss journey just to lose the physical pounds, you're missing the entire point. Weight loss alone, getting on Weight Watchers, counting points, and moving down in the scale and getting your fucking star sticker every week isn't going to fix everything about your life. But shedding the emotional weight, dropping the emotional weight, game changer. Game changer. That is where your freedom begins. And when you can do both in tandem together, your life has just opened this door. It's like a floodgate to possibilities. It is a floodgate to all the things that could be for you. And we get so wound up with the belief that we're not where we want to be in life. We don't have the money that we want to have. We don't have the success that we want to have. We don't have the goals achieved because we're too fat. That is what you have told yourself. That is what you have made yourself believe, when all along is literally about the emotional weight that you're carrying. Now, being overweight has definitely contributed to that emotional weight, right? And in order to, it's like they both work together, right? In order to lose the physical weight, you have to address this emotional stuff. You have to address the reason why you got here in the first place. Because if you don't, you just keep losing weight to lose weight for the physical vanity surface level bullshit reasons. And that'll work for a very short period of time. It'll get the weight off for the reunion. It'll get the weight off for the wedding. It'll get the weight off for the cruise. It'll get the weight off for, the self-induced goals that you've set for yourself with these crazy timelines. Yeah, sure. But then when shit hits the fan, when life be lifing, because we know that's coming, when the pop-up events are popping, what are you going to do? Have you learned how to manage yourself? Have you learned how to manage your emotions? There are so many people walking around this planet that have no idea. I think about it all the time, how people that have severe problems, emotional problems, just how much of that comes from upbringing, poor parenting, it's wild to me. And that poor parenting comes from parents who were emotionally immature, who didn't have the tools and the resources, so they didn't teach their kids how to be emotionally intelligent. Like, the way the world could change, and I'm not naive enough to I don't live in a rose-colored glasses type of world where I believe that everyone can achieve this, because I don't think everybody wants to achieve it. And I don't live in that kind of delusion where I think like, oh my God, if everybody would just lose their emotional weight and go to counseling and therapy and it would all be, roses and butterflies. No, it doesn't work that way. And some people's issues are just issues that, they can't control. But my point in all of this is to say how much different and peaceful things could be if people learned how to control themselves. And here's the reality. We can't control anyone. We can't control decisions that people are making in our lives, in our personal lives, in our global lives that can potentially have a major impact on us, right? We don't have a lot of control over that. So what we need to get our control over is handling ourselves, handling our emotional weight. Because losing the physical weight, well, it is fabulous. You cannot deny, okay? You cannot deny that it feels good to fit into a smaller size. It feels good to walk up and down the steps and not feel like you're going to die. It feels good to see your numbers coming into range. It feels good to look in the mirror and be like, oh shit, bitch, that's you? Like, it feels good. And I do not want to cloud that. I do not want to act like that's not real, because it is real. But that in and of itself won't fix your problems. It won't fix your ability to have confidence. It might bump it up for a bit, but you've got a lot of inner work to do in order for that to happen. And I don't just sit on this podcast and spew a bunch of bullshit that I got off of ChatGPT or a bunch of bullshit that I see so many social medias and podcasters and YouTubers who sit there and they just rinse and repeat what they heard somebody else say. And for those of you that know me, you know that's not the case here, right? The things that I share with you, they come from personal experience. They come from the times that I have lost the weight and still felt miserable. They come from the times where I've lost the weight and still felt like I weighed 250 pounds. They come from the times where I've lost the weight and still thought I didn't deserve things because I wasn't skinny enough. It comes from the times where I'm feeling myself, getting dressed, and I say, oh, let me just step on the scale because I feel good, so I must have lost weight. And I get on the scale and the scale's up. And then I take the rest of the day and trash the rest of the day in how I eat, how I show up, how I think, how I speak to myself. And my life changed when I decided to emotionally grow up, lose this emotional weight. That's where the confidence really came, is when I started to heal myself from the emotional weight standpoint. And that is when I stopped yo-yo dieting. Yes, I am still on a weight loss journey. No, I am not at my goal yet, but I am sure as shit not where I used to be. And not where I used to be physically. And definitely, like, I look back on videos and stuff like 10, 15 years ago, and I'm like, I don't even know who that is. Like, it's so hard to put myself in the mindset of that person because I've just grown, and we should be growing, right? We should be growing as we're aging. And some of us are not doing that. We're not putting in the work, and we're not growing and developing in that way. And we have this inner fat bitch battle. It's the voice in your head that tells you you're disgusting. Who the fuck do you think you are? You're really going to leave the house wearing that? Oh, right? Do you know how many people have said disgusting things to me when I wear a bathing suit, when I wear shorts with my big thighs and my cellulite? Do you know how many people have said disgusting things to me when I go to a public pool or a water park or a place where it's hot as fuck and we need to wear shorts and a tank top? Do you know how many people in public have said something negative to me? Zero. Zero. Because that inner fat bitch speaks enough for the whole world. Okay? And maybe you have gone somewhere and someone gives you a look. Of course, I've gotten looks. Like, we've all gotten that. The thing is, a lot of times the comments that we've experienced, I know this is true for me, they don't come from strangers. They come from quote unquote friends, quote family, people that are supposed to give a shit about you, that use their only dig at you to call you a fat bitch because they can't come up with anything else. And if we have these experiences, we blow them out of proportion in our heads because they were traumatizing, right? They were. And so we blow them out of proportion in our heads and we create a news story about how every time we go somewhere, I better have that comeback ready. And we constantly have this inner fat bitch battle that is on edge, living in fight or flight mode, trying to think of a comeback, trying to, you fantasize worst case scenarios when you go places. And then at the same time, the inner fat bitch is telling you you're useless, you're worthless, you're too fat, you're disgusting, you're gross, you're never going to lose your weight, you're always going to gain it back. And that voice is not truth. But you've been listening to it and taking advice from it as if it is the truth all these years. You have to start talking back to it. You have to start silencing the inner fat bitch. And that is all comes down to changing the way you think and feel and talk about yourself. And when you change the way you think and feel and talk about yourself, you will change the way you treat yourself because your actions will be reflective of how you think, feel, and talk to yourselves. Point blank, full stop. So the real point of this journey is to feel good in your skin, to believe in your worth now, to unlearn every single thing that you taught your body. You taught yourself. And I'm not just putting all this on you because we teach ourselves these things because we gain this information from society, we gain it from media, we gain it from family, we gain it from friends, we gain it from experiences, but we have taught ourselves through all of these experiences, directly and indirectly, right? We taught ourselves that we have to shrink in order to matter. We have to shrink our bodies in order to matter and have a place in this world. And so you sit on the sidelines, you don't participate, you tell your kids no, you tell your partners no, you tell your friends no because you don't want to show up because you think you're too fat and you think if you're too fat, everybody in the room is going to point and laugh at you and make fun of you and talk about you the entire day. Because you catastrophize what it means to be fat inside of your head. And is it fun to be super fat and overweight? No. Let's be very clear about that too, because I feel like a lot of people are out here telling you, it's okay, it's okay, it's okay. Yes, it is okay to meet yourself where you are, to love yourself regardless of what it says on the scale, and to feel good in your skin regardless of what it says on the scale. But to carry around all of that extra physical weight, no, it is not fun. It's hard. It's hard. It's hard emotionally. But let's be very real and clear here that it is hard physically. The way that I felt at 270 versus 190s, night and day. And I still have weight to lose. So I know I have even more room to feel better physically. But the way that I feel when I was 21, I was like around 18 is when I gained a shit ton of weight right out of high school. Reality hit me in the face and I was like, whoa, gained all this weight, became agoraphobic, wouldn't leave the house. Every time I left the house, I had panic attacks. So when I'm going to college, going to local community college, and I'm walking around campus at night, I can barely breathe. I'm out of breath. And I am 20 years old. I am now 43 years old. I am not out of breath walking around. I don't have to, my knees are not aching. My lower back hurts. I'm not going to lie. That's some age stuff, okay? But also, if I get this extra weight off of me, it's going to make my lower back feel better too. My point is this. It is not fun to carry around all that extra weight. It doesn't feel good. And this has so many layers to this journey. But I want you to walk away from this episode understanding that if all you do is lose the physical weight, if all you do is lose the weight and you still hate yourself, what was the point? I'm going to say it again. If all you do is lose the weight and you still hate yourself, what was the point? What was the point? What was the point if you didn't lose the toxic relationships? What was the point if you didn't lose the inner fat bitch dialogue that consumes so much of your brain space rent free? What was the point if you still are scared to show up? What was the point if you still berate yourself and tear yourself apart in front of the mirror because now you have loose skin from years and years and years of being too fat? What is the point if you still won't put a bathing suit on because you have loose skin and cellulite? If you lose all the weight and you put in the hard work, because it is lots and lots of hard work, it is a lot of sacrifices and it is a series of decisions of choosing this over that. And if you go through all of that and you still hate yourself, what was the point? You're in a skinny body and you are so filled with toxic disgust for yourself. How do you think the rest of the world is going to view you? Their first impression may not be, oh, she's a fat one. Their first impression is, oh, she's skinny, she's thin, she blends in with the rest. But when they start to dig down and realize how full of toxicity and vitriol you have for yourself, what was the point? So you could fit into a dress? So you could have a flatter stomach? That is so surface level. It is so surface level. There's no depth to that. There's no growth from that. There's no development. There's no enriching and empowering your life from that. So it just sets you on a constant battle because now you live with fear. You live with absolute fear that you're going to gain it all back. Why? Because you don't have the tools and resources to handle the inner fat bitch and all the emotional weight that comes with being a human. You don't lose emotional weight and then you just dump it off and never deal with it again. We are constantly coming face to face with emotional weight and things that we have to carry that no one else can see. So the real transformation, the real weight loss, it starts with you on the inside, meeting yourself where you are, acknowledging where you are, and that's where we start. So, okay. I get to a point where I just feel like, I always feel like I can talk and talk and talk and talk, and then I just feel like there's nothing else left to say. If you're on a weight loss journey and you're just trying to lose weight, you're missing the point. You're missing opportunities. You're missing potential. You are missing, because here's what it is. Let me just wrap with this. It's not about, yes, we want to be skinny. Yes, we want to look good in our clothes. Yes, we want to feel good, all, right? But we also want what we think is associated with being thin. And when we think about being thin and we replay the before and after stories that we've been fed to our entire lives by diet culture, right? When we replay that shit in our head, right? When we're replaying all of that in our head, the problem is that we think being skinny, we think weight loss, putting my light back on up here, we think weight loss is what gives us the running down the beach and laughing in slow motion and having this full, beautiful life achieving our goals and having success and having the relationships with the friends and all the things, the dream career, all the things that we want, we think that that is equatable, like that is what we get from weight loss. We don't get that from weight loss. We get that because we went on a weight loss journey, and through that journey, we also decided to lose the emotional weight. And as we started to lose the physical weight, we started to lose the emotional weight, we start to gain confidence. And because we gain confidence, we start going outside of our comfort zone. And when we go outside of our comfort zone, we start realizing, oh shit, this is what I've been missing. And the more we do things outside of our comfort zone, the more confidence we build, the more we're ready to do something else and up level and up level and up level. That is what it's all about. So once again, if you're on a journey and you're sitting there depriving yourself, you're not allowing yourself to enjoy certain foods, and you're telling yourself, I can only eat keto, I can only have this many points, I can only have this, and you're going to bed hungry and you're waking up hungry and you're constantly miserable, you're doing it wrong. Doing it wrong. There's more out here for you. And I tell you because I've lived it. I have lived it. I am 43. I will be 44 in basically a month from now, right? I refuse to get my ass caught on that hamster wheel of the yo-yo diet, body hate, shame cycle. I refuse. We don't have time for this anymore. So I'm going to go ahead and wrap it here. What I do want to leave you with is that if you don't know where to begin, you're like, I don't even know how to lose emotional weight. I don't know what you're talking about. I don't know how to do this. I have tools available for you. I have an online self-study course that gives you a framework. It gives you strategies. The best part is you can take it at your own pace. You can take it from your phone. You can take it from your tablet. And as a bonus, this is included in your membership. When you enroll, you get access to a VIP private podcast. You already like listening to podcasts because you're here. I know that. So when you listen to the podcast, you have this private podcast, which essentially is the entire course broken out into multiple podcast episodes that you can replay, take it on the go, put that shit in your ear and keep listening. And to my students that have been with me a year ago, 2 years ago, even 5 years ago or more, put it on and keep listening, because you will have a new perspective and a new aha moment every single time you go through it. Okay. I am going to leave it here. I want you to show some support for the podcast in a couple ways you can do that. Number one, leave a rating and review over on Apple Podcasts, or if your podcast player allows ratings and reviews, please go ahead and do that. Also, it does not cost a thing to share this episode. Share the podcast with someone in your life who you know would benefit from listening. Please do that. There are also other ways to support the podcast. You can donate a coffee, which basically donates to the upkeep of the podcast, all of the resources, the tools, the hardware, the software, the subscriptions that I have to have in order to keep this podcast going. All of that is in the show notes. In addition, let's stay connected. So you can reach out to me on Instagram or TikTok. On both platforms, I am at Irresistible Icing. First and foremost, get on my email list. That way, no matter what happens to these platforms, we will stay connected. You will never miss an episode. You will never miss a sale or a promo or a new course offering or anything that I have out there in the universe. So on that note, you guys, thank you so much for listening. I will catch you in the next one. Until then, stay irresistible. Bye, guys.